In the diagram below, Muhau, in the diagram below, we have right angle triangles A, B, C. O, D, C are drawn. O is at the origin. A and C lies on the y-axis. And then C is the midpoint. So that one is important. C is our midpoint. Is the midpoint of which line? Is the midpoint of B, D. And then they say which D is the point such that you have -2:4. Yeah? Yes. And then we're going to go through the questions. If we're going to go through the questions. Yes. 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 So they say would you calculate the gradient of OT? Now, when I check this, majority of us we made this one. What is it that we're supposed to do here? What is it that we're supposed to do here? We're supposed to take the coordinates of O and D. And then we say, okay, we have the coordinates of D, which is given as -2 and 4. We have the coordinates of O, which is 0 is to what is 2. And I'm saying this question, they like this question because these points are not given. Most learners are going to give up and say, Mara, we don't have that. So we should be careful of that too. With late, it seems as if it's a trend still. So we're going to go to M of OD, which is going to be given by Y of D minus Y of O, all over X of D minus X of O. And then you come and check what is Y of D is 4, minus open bracket 0, all over -2. Minus 0. And then you get an answer that is -2. 2 marks. How do you get our 2 marks substitution answer? Everyone is happy with this one. So we have the gradient of OT. Next question says, determine the equation of BD. You come and check on P and D. You have the coordinates of D. You don't have the coordinates of C. It's not a mistake. You don't have the coordinates of what? Of B. But there is a relation between OD and BD. Yeah? How do they relate to each other? What can you tell me? What kind of relation do these two people have? OD and OB. They're perpendicular. Yes. And then what do we know about perpendicular lines? The product of the gradients. So I'm going to tell that the M of OD, if you multiply the M of DO with the M of BD, this is going to give us what? We are good then. And then from the onwards, we know what is the M of OD. This one is -2. Multiplied by the M of BD. This is going to be actually. We divide both sides. It says M of BD is going to be 1. They will give us a mark for this. Next, we want to get C. Now, we're going to use the point which is lying on BCD. We don't know what is B, we don't know what is C, but we know D. So I'm going to tell them which we have Y, which is given as 1 all over 2 X plus C. Using this point, it says which we have 4, which is going to be 1 all over 2 into -2 plus C. Don't be lazy to multiply, you get what? -1. You take the -1 to the other side, it says we have 5, which is going to be actually give you another mark for C. Therefore, the equation is given as Y is equal to 1 over 2 X plus 5. Are you sure? Yes. Sure. Yes. Okay. Let's check what else do we have. We have the angle ACB, which is this angle here. Yes. Now, how to approach that question? You need to check what is between these two lines. Simple as that. We are going to check what this thing is between these two lines. Check the lines which are forming this angle. We can say it's like AC. Or you can say it's like OA. Ne? We can say that.
Yes.
Both of them are fine. So it's between line AO and then it's also between line BD. Ne?
Yes.
Now, AO, it's a y-axis. It doesn't have an angle of inclination.
Yes.
So we're going to ignore that one.
Okay.
Now, what is it that we're going to talk about then? We're going to talk about BD. We're going to talk about line BD. If we talk about line BD, we know what is the gradient of this line.
Yes.
Anish, what is the gradient of that line?
That's one of it.
So I'm going to tell them what is the 10 of, let's call it anything, we can call it alpha.
Yes.
So the 10 of alpha is going to be equal to 1 over 2. Meaning which alpha is going to be equal to the tan arc
1 over 2.
of 1 over 2.
Yes.
And what you get as your answer? It's 60? 26, comma? 57. Now, with this one, guys, if you don't know what to do, the next thing that you're going to do is to say, we're going to subtract 2 angles. Usually the angles we get them from the angle of inclination and angle of inclination. Yes, but we use this M. And then we got the alpha. Yes. And so alpha is going to, if I were to extend this thing here, alpha is this angle here. If I extend this down there, yes. Yeah, this angle here. Yeah. Or it's still a bit. Yes, so I'm confused. But I'm saying, I mean, what this thing here after this? Whenever you want, which angle do you want? Whenever you want this angle here.
Yes.
Now, how would you get that angle here? It's simple. The simplest way to do is to know we have 90. Why do we have 90? It's because the y-axis is always perpendicular to the x-axis.
Yes.
That's what you should remember.
Yes.
I think we spoke about this one, right? This one is the y-axis.
Yes.
The y-axis is always going to give us perpendicular. So there's a 90-degree angle here. So for us to get that angle C, we're going to tell them that C is going to be given by 90 minus 26, it's 5 what? 57. And then it's going to give you, I think, 63.
Yes.
63, 43. And then that done.
Yes.
63, 4. Without any understanding here, the only thing that you need to remember is that you can check what is between the 2 lines. Yeah? If you have 2 lines, if both of them have gradients, you calculate the angle of inclination of both lines. Yeah? Most of the time it's going to have it subtract. So we're going to calculate that. In fact, if you can get the angle of inclination and an angle of inclination, I would be happy with that. Get an angle of inclination, get an angle of inclination. Sometimes if you subtract, you get the 3rd mark. But you find with the answer doesn't necessarily stop there. But if you can get the 3 marks, we are more than happy. Otherwise, this is what you need to do. You need to draw. After drawing, you're going to calculate this angle here. After calculating this angle, you are supposed to say this one here is 90. And then you come and calculate this one also.
Is it necessary? You can just say that one is 90.
You can say? Yes. Yeah? You want to try next? Okay, you are asking a question? Huh? This one, we calculated this one, yes.
After C is equal to the way you calculate angle OCD, right?
OCD.
Yeah,
OCD, this one is 90.
No,
OC.
OC. Yeah, this one here. Yeah, this one, this two that vertical opposite. The vertical opposite. What happened to my text?
It went down.
Yes. We didn't like that. What should be the reason? Yeah, we can write the reason. We can add the reason there. I'm not sure if it has a. It's vertical opposite. Okay, next, what is it that you're supposed to determine then? They say what you are supposed to determine the midpoint of PT. This one, it kind of gave us a little bit of a problem. But let's remember, we know the equation of PT. Let's just remind each other. Guys, we know the equation of PT. What is the equation of PT? The equation of PT is given by this equation, right? That is the equation of what? Of PT. What else do we know? We know which we are at the y-axis. If we know which we are at the y-axis, we know something about x. What is x then? So you can tell that x is going to be 0, but the person that we don't know is y. We don't know what is y. And then what gave us a problem here is this. They kind of what is this when I asked this question before. When you are directing someone in a wrong way, Mara. Because they said something like midpoint. All of us were thinking midpoint, which you should use the midpoint, you should use the midpoint, but you couldn't use the midpoint because you don't know the point of what the coordinates of point of D. And then if you check, they're asking you about B after that, it means you can solve this thing without. That's what they were telling you, Platine. So how then will we get this thing? We're going to use the fact that we have the equation. We know x. Now we're looking for what? Y. We're going to tell them to y is going to be given by 1 all over 2 multiplied by 0 plus 5, which is going to be equal to what? 5. Then the coordinate of the midpoint is going to be 0 is to 5. And we didn't assume what you see is the midpoint. They told us it was not assumed. What killed us here is that we are fixated in the word midpoint. And then we should remember, which if you don't have the two coordinates, it means which you can't use the midpoint. Then you can use other things. That's one many things that you can use with here. Good analytical. And analytical, if you think about it, once you know which this is what you're supposed to do, it becomes simple. But the problem is the puzzle. How do you play around with this thing? Next, they say which we should calculate the coordinates of P. Now we know the midpoint. As long as you know the midpoint, then it becomes simple. This one is fine.
Yes.
Now we know the midpoint. If we know the midpoint and then we're trying to get the coordinates of P, how would we do that? We can tell them which we have the midpoint. We are looking for a point. We have a midpoint, we are looking for a point. So I'm going to tell them which is number 1. X at C is going to be equal to X at D X at B plus X at D divided by what? By 2. Now, do we know what is X at C?
Yes.
We know what is X at C.
Yes.
What is X at C?
0.
So we have 0, which is going to be equal to. Do we know what is X at B?
No.
So we'll write it as X, that one.
Yes.
And then we have plus. Do we know what is X at D?
Yes.
What is X at D? Minus 2 all over 2.
Yes.
Cross multiplication.
Yes.
2 multiplied by 0 is our
Yes.
So we have 0, which is going to be equal to X minus 2.
Yes.
And then takes X is going to be equal to what? 2.
Q.
So we have coordinate number 1.
Yes.
Okay, let's go and get coordinate number 2. Next, we are going to use y.
Yes.
Y at the midpoint is going to be given by y, yes? Y at C is going to be given as y at D plus y at B divided by 2. We know this is 5, which is going to be equal to y at D.
4.
It's 4 plus y all over 2. It gives us 10 minus 4.
Yes.
Y.
Why?
Y is going to be equal to 6. Okay. We are getting there. And then you can see with the other thing with analytical is that each and every question is connected to the previous one. So if you get the first one, that is why we are saying the first 4, but let's make it a point. Let's make it a point until we go there with our A game on the first four. Because they are going to be determining everything else that is going to fall. Next, we said we're cancelling this. Determine the equation of the second. Determine the equation of a second that passes through BDO. So we want it to pass through BDO. Now, analytical Euclidian geometry, we have this way by they are saying you should prove something which is a cyclic quad. Meaning with an imaginary second, we are going to do it exactly the same way. I'm going to say it means what is the second here. There should be a second here.
Yeah.
Actually, it passes through B, and O. That's what we want about this second. We want it to pass through B, D, and what and O. Everyone is happy then. And then we said this part here we are cancelling it. Center C is not a center. We want it to pass through B, D, and O. Everyone is happy then.
Yes.
Now, here's what we know, too. Here's what we know from Euclidean geometry. We know which if there's a 90-degree angle, a 90-degree angle is going to be subtended by a diameter. You still remember that?
Yes.
Any 90-degree angle that you get is going to be subtended by what? By a diameter. Let's talk about that. Which one is going to be there? You see, this question they like it because you first have to decide which one is the diameter here. Here are the lines that you have. Look at the lines that you have. You have line PT.
Yes.
You have line DO. You also have line OP. Between these three lines, we need to decide which one is the diameter.
Yes.
How do you know which one is going to be the diameter? Is the one which is going to be subtended by what? By 9. So which one is the diameter?
BO.
BO. So we're going to say here we have this line which is BO. Yes. See, this was a mistake. I spoke about it to say this is a mistake. We are cancelling it.
So, Mr.
See, now we spoke about it to say now we wanted an equation. What are we determining?
The line passes through BOD.
We wanted
Equation of the
The
cycle.
equation of the
we wanted the equation of a second which passes through B. C is not the center, but we wanted to pass through B, O, and D. Cancelling which is C is the what is that? It's a center.
Yes.
Okay, now we found the diameter. Which one is the diameter? OB is the diameter. Okay, we come and draw our diameter. Now we need to tell them which that one is the diameter. How did we get with that one is the diameter? So we're going to tell them with BD, BO is the diameter. Then they're going to ask me, why am I saying that? Because it's not so obvious. Because they're going to ask me, why you didn't say DO is a diameter? Why you didn't say DP is a diameter? And then we're going to tell them which it's subtended by a 90-degree. Or we can say converse. We can use the converse. And then we use angle in half a second. Or we can tell them which it's a line which subtends. Yes.
It's diameter subtends a 90-degree angle.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Oh.
It's an angle which is subtended by what? By a diameter. Any angle subtended by a diameter, it's 90. Everyone is happy then. Now, once you have a diameter, it means you can have a center. Again, once you have a diameter, you can have a center. Yes. So let's find out what is the center. How do you get the center? You know the point they took here. We got them as 2 and 6.
Yes.
What did you get?
2 and 6.
2 and 6.
Yes.
So let's get the midpoint here. We're going to call it the midpoint.
Yes.
So how are we going to get the midpoint? We're going to tell them which we have it's 2 plus 0
Yes.
divided by 2, which is going to give us 1. And we're going to say 6 plus 0 divided by 2, which is going to give us what? 3. They will give us a mark for that. They will also give us a mark for this. 4 marks.
Wow.
Now we're not done. We're looking for equation of a second. How to get an equation of a second? Equation of a second is this one. It's x, which is minus a all squared plus
Mr.
Y minus B all squared, which is going to be equal to what? Yes,
It's a big 6 is to this it choose to 6, I guess.
yes.
Yes.
So what are we going to substitute for A and B?
Plus 1.
We're going to put 1 and 3. So we're going to put 1 and 3. So what are we going to have? We're going to have something that looks like this. We have x minus 1 all squared plus y minus 3 all squared, which is going to be equal to what? R squared. Something is missing. We still have to get r squared. Right?
Yes.
Which coordinates can we use to get r? The simplest one is 0.
Yes.
Yeah, because it is passing through the origin, and then this origin is the simplest. Out of all the ones that we have there, let's go with the origin. If we substitute 0 here, you get 1. Are you sure?
One.
You get 1 plus, you get 4.
You get 1 plus 9, which is
Plus
10.
9.
Which is 10.
Yes.
Are you sure, Raphael?
100%.
Raphael was 100%. Okay, we sub 0 here. We sub 0 here. If we sub 0 here, saying we're getting r squared is equal to 10.
Yes.
Therefore, it means which our equation is going to be given as x minus 1 all squared plus y minus 3 all squared, which is going to be equal to what? To 10. And then I'll give you a mark for subtracting 0 and both of them. For subtracting 0 and the minus 1. For subtracting 0 and the cent. I'll give you 1 mark for that. And then I'll give you a mark for the final answer. Yes.
Like this is the length of B O, physical the length of B divided by 2 at R. R implies root of 10. Then for the square at R square. Then
You look for the radius.
yes,
Yes.
yes, I got that wrong. So you was substituted what you call.
Yeah, but after you substitute points, for you to calculate the speed here, you need to substitute. That's what I'm saying. There's a mark for substituting. And then there's going to be a mark for the equation. Are we still together? Win. We're still winning. Analytical. Analytical. That's analytical. And then the problem with analytical is that they're going to give you that one question which is going to make everything to go south. But once you know, you see, once you see it like this, I think everyone, if like they can give you maybe 1%, maybe someone to coach you to say, I'm right here. But you need to calculate the gradient. I think you'll be able to calculate. It's something you don't know. Calculate the midpoint. But if I tell you what you need the midpoint here, everyone can calculate the midpoint. Okay, that's one. Determine whether the point 3:1 lies inside, outside, or on the second. Motivate your answer using the necessary calculation. How do you know if a point lies inside the second, outside the second, or at the circumference? This is what you should check. Here's what you have. You have a second which has the coordinates 1 and 3. And then you have this point, which is 3 and 1. You're going to calculate the distance of this 3 and 1. If the distance of 3 and 1 is equal to the radius, not the radius squared, so we're going to calculate the radius first. Let's check what is going to be our radius. Our radius is going to say which we have r squared, which is going to be 10. Square root, it says r is going to be square root of 10. Now let's check this here. If it's greater than this answer that we got here, it means what it lies outside. If it's less than, it means what it lies inside. If we get square root of 10, it's going to lie at the what? At the circumference. But let's calculate. They didn't say the name of the point, so that we are not going to give it a point. We're going to say D. D is going to be given by, we have 3 minus 1 all squared plus. It's 1 minus 3 all squared. You get 2 and 2.
Yes, 2.
It's 4. 2 root 2.
Yes, it's 2 something.
Yeah, what is the answer in decimal? Because we can't compare.
2,83.
2,83. 2,83.
Yeah.
What is one? What do you make of 10?
3,1.
3,16.
Yes.
So, instead,
Yes.
I did a different approach.
Yeah.
You see, from the equation of the second,
Yes.
I substituted the 3 and the 1, it gives me 8. So I said the radius.
Yeah, it's still the same thing. Still the same thing. So here we can see what it is here. It lies inside the second. It lies inside our second. Okay. Officially done with this one. Done and dusted. Any questions?